This is not just a story. This is a truth no one was ready to hear. Ava was 50 years old, but she did not feel old. For the last 10 years, she had worked as a head nurse in a busy hospital. Long shifts, emergency calls, and sleepless nights were normal for her. People respected her. Doctors trusted her. Patients felt safe around her. Her life was not easy, but it was honest. She had raised her two sons with her own hands. She worked extra shifts so they could go to good schools. She saved every dollar so they could have a better future. She never complained. And now, it was New Year's Eve. Before I continue the story, please like and subscribe my YouTube channel, Hazel Stories. Now, let's start the story. The house was full of light. Small decorations hung on the walls. The dining table was covered with food. The smell of home-cooked dinner filled the air. Family members sat together, laughing and talking. Ava stood in the kitchen, fixing the last dish. She smiled quietly. This is nice, she thought. Family together, a new year's starting. She believed this night would be warm. She was wrong. During dinner, Ava noticed her sons were acting strange. They were polite, but too polite. They exchanged looks with each other. Their smiles felt forced. Ava felt a small knot form in her chest. Is something wrong? She asked gently. No, Mom, one son said quickly. Everything is fine. They continued eating. The clock on the wall showed 11:40 p.m. Outside, people were already celebrating. Fireworks could be heard in the distance. Everyone was waiting for the new year. Then, suddenly, one son put his fork down. Mom, he said, his voice serious, we need to talk. The room became quiet. Ava looked at both of them. Her heart started beating faster. Yes, she said softly. The other son cleared his throat. Mom, you are getting older. You forget things sometimes. You don't take proper care of yourself. Ava felt confused. I work every day, she replied. I manage everything. They did not meet her eyes. We think it's better if you go somewhere safer, Ava frowned. Somewhere safer? They exchanged another look. We mean an old age home, the second son said. The words hit her like cold water. An old age home? Ava felt the room spin. But why? She asked. I live here. This is my home. Her sons avoided her gaze. We can't afford a caretaker, one said. And honestly, Mom, it's getting hard for us. Hard for them. Ava felt her throat tighten. She looked around the table. The same table where she once helped them with homework, the same place where she served them food after long shifts. Now she felt invisible. The clock showed 11:59 p.m. Outside, the countdown started. 10, 9, 8. Ava sat still. Her sons kept talking. They take good care of people there, one said. You won't be alone. The countdown grew louder. 3, 2, 1. Fireworks exploded in the sky. Happy New Year! People shouted outside. Inside the house, Ava felt something break. She smiled weakly. Happy New Year, she whispered. No one noticed the tears in her eyes. She excused herself and went to her room. She closed the door quietly. The noise of fireworks felt far away. She sat on her bed and stared at the wall. Her mind replayed everything. The words, the looks, the cold decision made on the warmest night of the year. Is this my reward? She thought. After everything I gave? She remembered holding her sons as babies. She remembered working late nights, coming home tired, but smiling for them. She remembered telling herself it was all worth it. Now she felt unwanted. A knock came at the door. Mom, one son said softly. "We didn't mean to hurt you." Ava wiped her tears quickly. "It's okay," she said. But it was not okay. That night, Ava did not sleep. She listened to the sounds of celebration outside while feeling completely alone inside her own home. The new year had arrived, but instead of hope, it brought a painful truth. Her sons had already decided her future, and she did not know yet that this decision would change all of their lives forever. Morning came slowly. Ava sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the soft light coming through the window. The new year had begun, but her heart felt heavy. The words from the night before still echoed in her mind. Old age home. She took a deep breath and stood up. She had work. Patients were waiting. Life did not stop just because her heart was broken. In the kitchen, her sons were already awake. They spoke quietly to each other. When they saw Ava, they smiled, acting normal, as if nothing had happened. "Good morning, Mom," one said. "Good morning," Ava replied. Her voice sounded calm, but inside she felt empty. As she poured coffee, she remembered other mornings from the past. Mornings when her sons were small. Back then, she woke up before sunrise. She prepared breakfast, packed lunches, and ironed school clothes. She worked long hospital shifts and came home tired, but she never missed a school meeting or a parent event. She remembered one winter night. Her youngest son had a fever. Ava had worked a double shift that day, but she stayed awake all night, checking his temperature, holding his hand, whispering comfort. "I'm here," she had told him. Now she wondered, where are they now? At the hospital, Ava moved through her duties like always. She checked charts, guided nurses, and spoke kindly to patients. No one could see the storm inside her. During her break, she sat alone and looked at an old photo on her phone, her son's at graduation. She had cried that day, proud and happy. "I did my job," she had thought. "I raised them well." But had she? When she returned home that evening, her sons were waiting in the living room. "Mom," one said carefully, "we should talk about last night." Ava nodded. "Yes," she said, "we should." They sat down. "We think the old age home is best," the other son said. "You'll have care, you won't have to work anymore." Ava felt something rise in her chest. "I don't need to stop working," she said firmly. "My job keeps me strong." They looked uncomfortable. "You don't understand," one replied. "It's hard for us to manage everything." Ava noticed something new. They did not talk about her safety. They talked about their comfort. That night, Ava lay awake again. She thought about her sacrifices, the times she skipped meals to save money, the years she wore old clothes so her sons could have new ones, the nights she cried quietly so they would not see her tiredness. She had never asked for anything in return, not money, not praise, only respect. The next few days felt strange. Her sons became distant, polite, but cold. They talked on the phone in low voices. They looked at her with careful eyes, as if watching her reactions. Ava felt like a guest in her own house. One evening, Ava opened an old box in her closet. Inside were letters, certificates, and memories. Her nursing license, thank you cards from patients, a handwritten note from her late husband written years ago. "You are stronger than you think," the note said. Tears filled her eyes. That night, Ava made a silent decision. She would not cry in front of her sons again. She would not beg. She would observe. She began paying attention. She noticed how they talked about money, how they had discussed future plans without her, how they avoided conversations about her staying. One afternoon, Ava overheard them talking. "If she moves out," one said carefully, "things will be easier." The words cut deep. Ava realized something painful. The New Year decision was not sudden. It had been planned. That evening, Ava looked at her reflection in the mirror. She saw a woman who had survived years of pressure, loss, and responsibility. She straightened her shoulders. If her sons thought she was weak, they were wrong. But she said nothing. Not yet. Because sometimes silence is not surrender. It is preparation. And Ava was preparing for something her sons would never expect. The house was still the same, but Ava felt different inside it. Every step she took felt heavy. The walls that once held laughter now felt quiet and cold. Ava moved through the rooms carefully, like someone visiting a place that no longer belonged to her. She noticed small changes. Her sons stopped asking about her day. They no longer waited for her at dinner. Sometimes they ate without her. Other times they brought food from outside and did not offer any. Ava pretended not to notice, but she noticed everything. One morning, she found her medicine drawer moved. She did not say anything. Another day, she noticed papers on the table, documents she did not recognize. When she asked about them, her sons quickly moved them away. "Just work papers," one of them said. Ava nodded, but a quiet fear began to grow. At the hospital, Ava found comfort in routine. The steady sounds, the calm focus, the purpose. One young nurse noticed her tired face. "Are you okay, Ava?" she asked. Ava smiled softly. "Yes," she said. "Just thinking." But the truth was different. Her mind was busy with questions. Why were her sons rushing her away? Why did they avoid talking about the future with her? One evening, Ava came home earlier than usual. She heard voices from the living room. Her sons were talking. "She doesn't need this big house," one said. "It's too much for her anyway." The other replied, "Once she's settled, we can decide what to do next." Ava stood still. Her heart beat loudly in her ears. They were not talking about care. They were talking about control. That night, Ava did not eat. She sat alone in her room, holding the note from her husband again. "You are stronger than you think." She repeated the words quietly. The next day, Ava decided to see the old age home herself. She did not tell her sons. She wanted to understand what they were planning for her. The building was clean, but quiet. Too quiet. She saw elderly people sitting alone, staring at walls or windows. Some smiled at her, hopeful. Others looked tired, forgotten. A nurse there spoke kindly. "They are safe here," she said. Ava nodded, but her heart felt heavy. Safety was not the same as love. On her way home, Ava felt something change inside her. Fear slowly turned into clarity. At home, her sons acted pleased. "Did you think about our idea?" one asked. Ava looked at them calmly. "Yes," she said, "I did." Their faces relaxed. That night, Ava started preparing. Not bags, but knowledge. She checked her bank accounts, she reviewed her work benefits, she gathered important documents. She realized something important. She was not helpless. She still had a career, she still had income, she still had choices. Her sons did not know this yet. Days passed. The pressure increased. They talked about dates. They mentioned next week and soon. Ava stayed quiet. She smiled when needed. She listened carefully. One afternoon, Ava overheard something that made her chest tighten. "If she agrees," one son said, "everything becomes simple." Ava finally understood. They did not want her to stay. They wanted her gone. That night, Ava stood in the kitchen, looking around. The house held memories, but memories could not protect her. Only action could. She opened her laptop. She searched quietly. Apartments near the hospital, legal advice, financial planning. For the first time since New Year's night, Ava felt control returning. She closed the laptop and looked at her reflection in the dark window. "I will not be pushed away," she whispered. I will walk away on my own terms. Upstairs, her sons laughed at something on TV. They thought the plan was working. They thought Ava was weak. They were wrong. And soon, they would learn that the woman they tried to abandon had strength they never saw coming. Ava woke up early the next morning with a calm she had not felt in weeks. The fear was still there, but it no longer controlled her. Something inside her had changed. She was no longer waiting to be pushed. She was preparing to move on her own terms. She got ready for work slowly, carefully. She looked at herself in the mirror and adjusted her hair. She did not look weak. She looked tired, but strong. At the hospital, Ava felt alive again. She led the morning briefing with confidence. She helped a young nurse handle a difficult patient. She made quick decisions during an emergency that saved a life. A doctor smiled at her and said, "I don't know what we would do without you." Those words stayed with her. On her lunch break, Ava made a phone call. Then, another. She spoke quietly, clearly, and with purpose. That evening, she returned home later than usual. Her sons were waiting in the living room. "We were worried," one of them said. "You didn't answer your phone." Ava smiled politely. "I was busy," she replied. They exchanged looks. "We were thinking," the other son said, "maybe this weekend would be a good time to move." Ava sat down calmly. "Yes," she said. "I agree." Their faces brightened. "That's great," one said quickly. "We can start packing your things." Ava raised her hand gently. "No," she said. "There's no need." The room fell silent. "What do you mean?" one son asked. Ava took a deep breath. "I've already taken care of everything," she said. "I've made my own arrangements." They looked confused. "I've found a small apartment," Ava continued. "It's close to the hospital. Quiet. Comfortable." The smile disappeared from their faces. "You're not going to the old age home?" one asked. "No," Ava replied calmly. "I'm not." The air in the room felt tight. "But we already planned," one son started. Ava looked at him firmly. "You planned," she said, "without asking me." Her voice was steady. "I raised you to stand on your own feet, and now I will do the same for myself." They did not expect this. They thought she would cry. They thought she would beg. They thought she would accept their decision. They were wrong. "What about your job?" one asked. "You can't manage alone." Ava smiled slightly. "I've managed harder things," she said, "and I still work full-time." Silence filled the room. That night, Ava began packing, but only what mattered. Clothes, documents, memories she wanted to keep. She left behind things that no longer held meaning. As she packed, she remembered a moment from years ago. Her sons were teenagers. They wanted to quit school once. She had told them, "Life doesn't get easier when you give up. It gets harder." Now, she followed her own advice. The next day, Ava signed the lease for her apartment. The space was small but warm. Sunlight filled the room. The silence felt peaceful, not lonely. She stood in the center of the room and smiled. "This is mine," she whispered. Back at the house, tension grew. Her sons avoided talking to her directly. When they did, their voices were sharp. "This isn't fair," one said. "We were trying to help." Ava nodded. "I know," replied Ava, "but help should never feel like being pushed away." They had no answer. On moving day, Ava carried her own bag. She did not ask for help. At the door, she paused. She looked at the house one last time. She did not feel sadness. She felt relief. Her son stood behind her, silent. "I hope you both find happiness," Ava said softly. Then she walked out. They watched her leave. Only then did they realize something important. They had not sent their mother away. They had lost her presence. And once something like that is gone, it does not come back the same way. Life moved quickly after Ava left the house. For the first time in years, Ava woke up in a place that was completely her own. The small apartment was quiet, but the silence felt peaceful instead of painful. She made her own coffee, opened the window, and watched the morning light fill the room. She felt free. At work, Ava's energy surprised everyone. She laughed more, she spoke with confidence, she stayed late when needed, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Her coworkers noticed. "You look lighter," one nurse said. Ava smiled. "I am," she replied. Meanwhile, back at the house, her sons felt something different too. The house felt empty. There was no warm food waiting after work, no gentle voice reminding them to rest, no quiet care that they had always taken for granted. At first, they enjoyed the freedom. They stayed out late, they ordered food, they made plans without thinking. But small problems began to appear. Bills went unpaid, the house felt messy, the silence felt uncomfortable. One evening, one son opened the fridge. It was empty. "She used to keep everything organized," he said quietly. The other son nodded, but said nothing. At the hospital, Ava received a call. One of her sons was in the emergency room. She froze for a moment. Then she took a deep breath and went to see him. She did not rush, she did not panic, she arrived calm and professional. Her son looked surprised when he saw her. "Mom," he said softly. Ava nodded. "Are you okay?" she asked. He was. It was nothing serious. But the moment changed something. For the first time, her son saw her not as someone to control, but as someone strong. After that, her sons began calling more often. "Just checking in," they said. Ava kept the conversation short. She was polite, but distant. One evening, they asked to visit. Ava agreed. They came to her apartment. They looked around, surprised. "It's nice," one said. "Yes," Ava replied. "It is." They sat in silence. Then one son spoke. "We didn't mean to hurt you," he said. Ava listened. She did not interrupt. "We thought we were doing the right thing," he continued. Ava nodded slowly. "I know," she said, "but the way you did it broke something." Her sons lowered their heads. "We didn't think you'd leave like this," the other said. Ava looked at them calmly. "You didn't think," she replied. That night, after they left, Ava felt both sad and strong. She missed her sons, but she did not miss the pain. Days passed. Ava built a routine. She cooked meals she enjoyed. She joined a small walking group. She rested when she needed to. Her sons, meanwhile, began to understand. They realized how much Ava had carried, how much she had done without asking for thanks. One evening, one son quietly said to the other, "We took her for granted." The truth was painful. Weeks later, her sons invited Ava to dinner. She hesitated. Then she agreed. When she arrived, the table was set carefully. They had tried. They thanked her for coming. During dinner, one son finally said it. "We were wrong." Ava looked at them. "I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to live my life with dignity." Tears filled their eyes. They realized that night. Love does not mean control. Family does not mean ownership. And respect, once broken, takes time to rebuild. Time has a quiet way of healing wounds. Months passed after Ava moved into her small apartment. Spring arrived, and sunlight filled her home every morning. She placed plants near the window, cooked meals she enjoyed, and rested without guilt. For the first time in years, Ava lived for herself. At the hospital, she became a mentor to young nurses. They looked up to her, not just for her skills, but for her calm strength. She shared stories, offered advice, and reminded them to value themselves. "You can care for others," she often said, "but never forget to care for yourself." Her sons stayed in touch. Not every day, not every week, but slowly. They called to ask how she was. They asked for advice. Sometimes they apologized again, not with words, but with changed behavior. Ava noticed the difference. They listened now. They did not rush her. They did not make decisions for her. One afternoon, Ava invited them for tea. Real tea, warm and simple. They sat together quietly. "I've learned something," Ava said calmly. "Being a parent does not mean losing your place in the world." Her sons nodded. "We didn't understand that," one said. "We thought you would always adjust." Ava smiled gently. "I did, for many years." There was no anger in her voice, only truth. As the next new year approached, Ava felt no fear. She reflected on the night that had changed everything. The dinner, the words, the cold decision. What once felt like betrayal now felt like awakening. On New Year's Eve, Ava chose not to stay home alone. She volunteered at the hospital. Patients smiled when they saw decorations in the hallway. Ava handed out small gifts, held hands, and spoke comforting words. At midnight, she stood by a window. Fireworks filled the sky again. 1 year ago, she had felt abandoned. This year, she felt whole. Later that night, her sons came to see her. They brought flowers. "We wanted to spend this moment with you," one said. Ava looked at them carefully. She saw regret. She saw growth. She also saw people learning a hard lesson. They stood together quietly as the fireworks faded. Ava did not forget the pain, but she no longer lived inside it. She had learned something important. Love should never come with conditions. Respect should never be demanded. It should be given freely. And parents are not objects to be moved when they become inconvenient. Ava returned home that night and wrote in her journal. She wrote about strength, about boundaries, about self-worth. She ended with one sentence: "I chose myself, and that saved me." Moral lesson: parents deserve respect, not abandonment. Love does not mean control, and it is never too late to stand up for yourself and begin again. Sometimes the most painful moments open the door to the strongest version of who you are meant to be.